Okay, so I have one. So when I was 21, I wanted to move out on my own. I had been living with an ex of mine, and I just wanted my own independence and just to, have my own space. Well, back then I didn't have a cell phone, so I just looked up on Craigslist. I know. I saw an ad, and in the ad it said, there's a 1.5 bedroom, all bills paid. It's a little deserted, but there's at least you won't have neighbors. You can have your own privacy. And I was like, ooh, okay. I think I can do this. I was like, as a city guy, I thought I can do this. So I call her up and she says, hey, yeah, the apartment's still available if you want to see it. The only thing is I won't meet you at the apartment. And I was like, oh, is there a reason? She's like, oh, I just have a lot of errands to run. So can you meet me somewhere? So we meet up somewhere. I should have known better because that was red flag number 2. Anyway, so then I get to the apartment, and this is how, it's a small home. So it is a little deserted. And when you walk in, it has a long patio for the front. Little country home, it looks like. Almost a cabin-like. When you walk in, to the left is the living room. Front of that is the kitchen. There is no door anywhere there besides the front door. Well, when you go back to the front door, you turn right. There's a restroom to the right that's not connected to the bedroom. To the left is that bedroom. Past that bedroom, there's that little small bedroom, which is like a small office, whatever. But it leads to the back, nonetheless. So there's 3 doors. One in the front, one that leads back there by the den, and then there's another one inside the room. And so I look at it, hardwood floors, it's a little dated, not really thinking anything of it. So now that I've set up how it looks, I was like, okay, I'll take it. It's cute. So I call her up, I told her I'll take it. I was like, do you want first and last month? She's like, no. I'll just take first months. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, I'll do it. Okay. Saves me money. So that would have been red flag number 3. Well, all I brought with me was a TV, mattress, an air mattress, and my clothes. So I really didn't have much to my name. That night, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go take a shower, thinking about what I'm going to put up and what furniture is going to go where, not really thinking anything other than that. As I'm taking a shower, I hear a doorknob, and it's furiously going. Let me show you exactly what I'm referring. And it's just going crazy. And I thought, wow, the landlord's getting a little upset. So I didn't think anything of it. So I was like, hey, I'm coming. Give me a second. Luckily, it had an extra lock that I felt secure enough to just grab my stuff, put clothes on. And I was like, hey, I'm here. And I get to the front door, and mind you, it's still shaking as I'm walking to the door. Finally, I get to the door, and I look to the window, and there's no car anywhere. There's no one there. Now, the only thing is, I also didn't mention, is that this house was like a little deserted in a sense, where it was like the closest neighbor was about half a mile away. So not too far, but enough to have a space. And so there was really no neighbors around. So I thought to myself, well, maybe it was just the wind. So I go back in to go take a shower. As I'm taking the turn to go take a shower, I look to the left, and there's so much light coming into the room. I don't think anything of it. I was like, oh, whatever. And then I turned again, and sure enough, in the bedroom, the door into the room is wide open. And of course, my heart is beating a mile away. I mean, just going fast. And I'm shaking. You can hear within my voice that it's shaking. And I was like, is anybody here? Is anybody here? And I'm looking in the closet, and I'm looking everywhere, and I look, and there's no one anywhere to be found. So I said, oh, maybe she just forgot to lock it. I didn't think twice about it after that. Lock the door, go take a shower. Don't think anything about it. So the very next day, after I went to go buy a couple things for the apartment. Well, it was already 11 o'clock at night. I was watching TV, and I was just laying there watching it, relaxing. And all I hear is kids playing. Well, I grew up in the hood in the city of San Antonio. So not really thinking, I thought, oh, those kids are, the neighbor kids are being loud. And it took a second to realize, wait. There's no neighbors near you. Why are there kids screaming? And of course, you can hear like, and it's very faint, but you can hear that they're playing outside. So of course, I go outside and I go look and go check the front. There's nothing. Go check the back. There's nothing. 1 second. So somebody came knocking at the door. Okay, so after that, I think it took a couple of days when I started realizing, like I started getting scared. I started hearing footsteps of running back and forth late at night. And that's when I think it took it to a different level because I'm the only one living there. Now, things started shifting a little bit when I realized that I could start seeing things around the house, but not inside the house sometimes. It was always outside, which is weird. So I remember one night I was laying there, and I want to say like it was 1 in the morning. I really wasn't sure, but I know it was late. It was really late. So I hear the footsteps. And do you have I don't know, Insidious? Remember when the guy's walking back and forth, but this is second floor? It almost seemed the exact same way. You heard heavy footsteps in the front porch. And I know that it wasn't the landlord coming at late at night like that. So of course I go quietly to go check. I mean, I get out of bed, I creep over there, and I can see a figure, but I can't make it out. And of course I'm going to say something to kind of get him to get out. And I told him, I was like, get out of here. Or I'm calling the cops. It didn't do anything. The figure just stayed there. And it stayed there, and it was just dark. I remember it took a minute. I felt like forever. And then it just disappeared. And right after that, I could hear like the doorknobs messing again from the back and the front at the exact same time. And it sounded so loud. It sounded like if it was you had a radio really, really loud with the bass just booming. It sounded so intense in my head. Of course, I called the landlord and I said, hey, the very next day, because it stops out of nowhere. I go back to bed and I call the landlord the next day and I tell her, hey, can we talk? I'm starting to see things. I'm starting to hear things, and I feel like I'm losing my mind. And she said, well, I'm sure it's nothing. I said, has anyone else complained about this before in the past? And she says, I mean, yes. And I was all, yes, what? Yes, I mean, not a lot of people stay long. That's why I didn't do the first and last months. And I was like, wait, so you knew about this? And she says, I mean, it all depends if you believe in that. I said, well, I believe in this. I ended up staying, I think, another few months. But in those months, it just got more intense and more intense. And when I say more intense, I would walk into the kitchen because I would hear something, and I would walk into the kitchen and all the doors were open, all the doors. And one time I took I was doing number 2, and I walked in there to go take care of business. And as I came out, all the doors were open again to the kitchen, and the TV was on, but it was in like a static. It was just staticky, and of course I went to go turn it off, and then I started hearing what sounded like running around the house. Even though it was mostly grass around there, I just heard running and banging, and I think that was the last day. I couldn't take it anymore. After that day, I just left. I said, I don't care. Leave my air mattress, leave everything behind. I didn't want to go back to it. It was just too scary.